We were not bad. Like
Yes,
most of us, not me. Videsh was called on unexpectedly. So let's now continue with the chapter.
Sir, we will start the new chapter.
So can you just give me a message? Can you allow me with my another account, please?
Okay, so the topic is called as a okay, the topic is called as a how, when, and where.
Where?
Nityam is joining with another device.
Yes, sir, sir, please accept that.
Sir, we will wait for 1 minute if he does not. Acha, he joins. Arey, sir, what is this? Nityam Gaming sings.
Hello.
Lucky taku dekhe taro fan pakere achi. Lucky dekhe ta use fan pakere achi.
What happened?
Sir, look at Srujan's name, sir.
Nityam Gaming sings. Sings.
Sir, not the sing, sir. Sir, which gaming channel will be singing, sir?
Okay, fine.
What a fool.
So, shall I share my screen?
Sorry, sir.
Chattu.
Hello?
Sir, please, sir, continue, sir. Book up body jai, sir.
Bhuka.
I'm unable to hear any of you guys.
Very good.
Because you have become Kala.
Yeah, we call him Kala.
Sir, are you recording? Sir, are you recording for YouTube?
Sorry?
Sir, are you recording classes for YouTube?
No. Who said that?
Sir, so why do you record classes?
I record classes so that I can show means how many classes I have done. I count them.
Oh,
Yeah. This Nityam Gamings, what you're doing will do.
Hello?
Yes, hola.
hola.
Oh, finally you were audible.
Oh,
It's showing like it is showing up here like
okay, so let's begin the topic called as a how, when, and where. It's a first chapter of class 8 and the topic history. So
history.
the topic is called as a how, when, and where. So obviously when we talk about history, so it's a very important with the date, place, and the purpose, right? Date is indicating when something occurred, where something occurred, how something was occurred. Isn't it, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's proceed it. So the first topic, how, when, and where. So the topic begins with the idea called as a how important are dates. Can you tell me that how important are dates?
The dates are very important in history because marks signifying like how much has everything.
See,
So if we suddenly say like any date in history and we compare it to our today's date, we can notice significant changes. This is the first point. Second point, these dates have important things which happened on that specific date, and this helps us to keep record with what's going on.
so fine. Let me point out, I have not asked you the question how important are dates in history. My simple question is called as how important are dates? Means on the basis of general sense. Look into it.
Sir, in general sense, dates are very important. Like half of our like daily actions, like going to school or emailing someone, we need to mention a date. So if we want a thing, so how will we know that in how much time we will get it? We can't certainly say in hours. So we have something called as dates, which helps us to know that at which day we will we get it, or it on which day we studied that on a general sense.
Okay, with this, could you please highlight on this?
Sorry, sir.
Could you please highlight on this the question that I asked?
Sir, could you just repeat the question once, sir?
Where is your mind and heart?
No, sir, I completely forgot what the question was.
My question was, how important are dates?
Sir, dates as per to me, sir, being punctual, dates are very important, sir. Sir, because as per to the dates, we decide what we will do in our future. And as per to the dates, we also remember what had happened in the past. Sir, for example, if we book a ticket in today's day-to-day life, sir, booking airplane flights and cinema especially is very tough. So for that, we need to decide a particular date on which we need to go. Sir, otherwise, there are most of the conditions in which if we don't decide a date, we don't find our seats or availability for the journey or anything. Sir, and sir, dates most probably help us to like, for example, in the politics, sir, there are presidents, sir, the PM, sir, they have regular meetings, sir. They are scheduled from a long time back, so that there will be no issues in the further future. And sir, the same condition is with the like boards of cricket boards, sir. We can say the sports boards or the sir in court, sir, in a case, sir, they will give a particular date for the next court announcement or anything, sir.
Okay, fine. So it means what? In general sense, dates are very important because on the basis of that, we decide something for the future. That may be railway ticket, that may be called as a plan for the picnic, or plan for the celebration, plan for the ceremony, or plan for the means keeping something for the future, right? So, or called as doing something better in future, right? So dates are important because we need to remember the date of birth, or maybe called as a date of anniversary, or we find out the particular holy time, or that in such situation we can organize something, right? So in a general sense, dates matter the most. But when we talk about dates in a history, right?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, like there is some like cut noise coming from your mic.
So that could be possibly fan sound. I'll just walk up into it. Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I was just talking about that how important are dates. There was a time when historians were attracted. Attracted with what? Now, attracted with dates. There were heated debates about the dates on which rulers were crowned or battles were fought. It means on the basis of the dates, so these rulers take the decision of uh, uh, you can say that crown themselves, or called as a fighting against any of the means enemy. in the common sense notion, or on the basis of the common ideas, history was synonymous with dates. Synonymous means, now when you are talking about synonymous, it means we are talking about the same, right? History means referring as a dates. So you may have heard people say, I find history boring. Why? Now, because it is all about memorizing dates.
It's all about memorizing dates, and
Yeah.
I'm one of them.
Yeah, it's such a consumption rule. So a kind of a hard fact. The fact is called as, if you do not remember dates, you can't say that when did Gandhi burn or Mahatma Gandhi ji burn, or when did means Jallianwala massacre occurred, or when did means India got its independence, right? So in that sense, you can point out the idea pertinent to the dates, referring to nothing but very important uh, in case of remembering the history. History is surely about changes, right, that occur over time. Excuse me. Excuse me. History is surely about what? Now, changes. Changes of what? Now, that occur over time. On the basis of the time means changes occur, and history is surely about that, right? Let's say that if you talk about cyclone, super cyclone, funny, uh, and also you talk about a couple of other disaster, decimation, or you talk about terrorist attack. So those are the dates, or called as some of the terrorists who have been, you know, got the means capital punishment. So we all remember that. We also remember the day, birthday of means B.R. Ambedkar, or you talk about Subhash Chandra Bose. So we do remember those of the things uh, because those are nothing but indicating to the history, and on the basis of that you will find out the changes are occurred, right? So history is not like what restricted in the past itself. So everything which, every incident which is a famous and also unique, right? Unique action it presents, so can be written and also memorized and considered as the history. So, therefore, it is indicated that history is surely about changes that occur over time. It is about finding out how things were in the past and how things have changed, right? Let's say that people used to live 100 or 200 BC. That what means, they were living in the caves. They lived in the caves, but the changes occurred in the modern days. You would find out means those people were are living in a means you can say that luxurious house, right? Luxurious houses. So and also their way of medium of transportation is completely changed. So therefore we can say means how things were in the past and how things have changed is indicating about the present and past. As soon as we compare the past with the present, we refer to time. We talk of before and after. We refer to time. We talk of what? Before and after. Living in the world, we do not always ask a historical question about what we see around us. So we take things for granted, um, as if what we inhabit, but most of us have our moments of wonder when we are interesting, or when we are curious. Curious means interest to know something. When we ask questions that actually are historical. So remember that historical, right? So it means certain events occurred in the past. Historical means what? Now certain things occurred in the past and we remember it, right? That is why we ask questions that actually are historical, means they are considering as one of the important event. Watching someone sip a cup of tea at a roadside tea stall, you may wonder when did people begin to drink tea or coffee, right? Looking out of the window of a train, you may ask yourself, when were railways built? And how did people travel long distances before the age of railways? So, reading the newspaper in the morning, you may be uh, curious to know how people got to hear about things before newspapers began to be printed. Now, all these things are clearly indicating that it has the beginning. It has the beginning, and that reflects to the future. That reflects to the past, and past means referring to the history, right? Let's say that here you would find out one of the figure one which is presented, that Brahmins offering the Shastras to Britannia, right? Frontispices to the first map produced by the whom? The first map. Are you all there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we are there, sir.
Okay.
We are listening to you, sir.
So frontispices to the first map produced by James Rennell, 1782. So look into it. This is one of the example which is presented and stated about what now means how Shastras to Britannia, or Brahman is offering the Shastras to Britannia, right? And produced by James Rennell, 1782, the first map which was produced by James Rennell. So that's also indication of the history which was memorized and noted. Rennell was asked by Robert Clive to produce maps of Hindustan, right? So an enthusiastic supporter of British conquest of India, Rennell saw preparation of maps as important to the process of domination. Domination means referring to the geographical area. The picture here tries to suggest that Indians willingly gave over their ancient text to Britannia, right? The symbol of British power. So which one is the symbol of British power? That's called as Britannia, right? At the same time, India, yeah.
Britannia biscuits.
So as if asking her to become the protector of Indian culture. So this is what clearly highlighting that what that how means certain evidences which are kept in the history which prove that whatever you do or whatever you say, right, cannot be called as approved, or cannot be also denied that it was approved, right? So in that case, no one can make any kind of a comment, right? So, or any hey manner comment. Hey manner means careless comment. Why? Now, because anything that you speak, right, must have the evidence, and the evidence laid where in the past. That's called as a history, right? So, look into it. All such historical questions refer us back to the ideas of time. So, when you are talking about history, right, it takes us what? Now, takes us to the past time. But time does not have to be always clearly dated in terms of a particular year or a month. Sometimes it is actually incorrect to fix precise dates to process that happen over a period of time. People in India did not begin drinking tea one fine day. They developed a test for it over time. There can be no one clear date for a process such as this. Similarly, we cannot fix one single date on which British rule was established, or the national movement started, or changes took place within the economy and society. All these things happened over a stretch of time. So you can keep a kind of a thought in your mind that when we are talking about history, history is not happened in a means overnight. It took some time, and it takes a duration of time. We can only refer to a span of time, an approximate period over which particular changes became visible. So whether it refers to the introduction to tea, or whether it is whether it is referring to the means Indian mythological books, right? Or it tells about the British power, or it tells about the means certain introduction to the country, like that may be railway, or that may be called as a newspaper, right? So all those things have a means a duration of time, right? Now, next is called as a why then do we continue to associate the history with a string of dates? Then why we are talking about the means series of dates? The question's answer can be drawn like what? Now, this association has a region. Why do we attach with the dates? Now, because it has a region. What was that region? There was a time when history was an account of battles and big events, right? It was about rulers and their policies. So not only dates, but also the name of the rulers, name of the policies. Historians wrote about the year a king was crowned. Historians wrote about what? Now, the year a king was crowned, the year the king got married, the year the king had a child, the year he fought a particular war, the year he died,
The
and
year he died.
yeah, and the year the next ruler succeeded to the throne. For events such as this, specific dates can be determined. So, particular dates like when did he burn? So, that was means that cannot be called as a series, right? So, or when did he marry? When did he get a child? When did means he fight a particular war? When did he die? When did the next ruler came to the throne, right? These are the events, right? Required specific dates, and that can be determined. And in history such as these, debates about dates continue to be important. Debates about dates continue to be important. Why? Now, means as you have seen in the history, so if you are making any kind of an argument, if you have the dates, if you have the facts, if you then only you can make your argument strong, right? So without any fact, and fact is also indicating that whether you are telling true or false. As you have seen in the history textbook of the past 2 years, historians now write about a host of other issues and other questions. They look at how people earned their livelihood, what they produced and ate, how cities developed and markets came up, how kingdoms were formed and new ideas spread, and how cultures and society changed. Now, even you all are the evident of what? Now, Russia and Ukraine's war, right? Now you would find out that when did it start or when did it occur? You will say that in the year of 2022, right? But you won't say that what the series or the span of time or the duration of time it continues. You simply remember the year, right? So what does it say? As you have seen in the history textbook of the past 2 years, historians now write about a host of other issues and other questions. They look at how people earned their livelihood, what they produced and what they ate, how cities developed and markets came up, how kingdoms were formed and new ideas spread, and how cultures and societies changed. Right. So this is what is indication why we remember history. So the first one you understood about the how history is considered as the important. So at the same time means the second one is indicating about what right? Why history is means connected with the string of dates. Then the third is called as a which dates you are talking about, which dates you are talking about. By what criteria do we choose a set of dates as important? Think of it. Means why do we follow up a certain criteria? So when you are talking about dates, as it is important, the dates we select, the dates around which we compose our story of the past are not important on their own. They become vital because we focus on a particular set of events as important. Particular set of events, right? If our focus of study changes, if we begin to look at new issues, a new set of ideas or new set of dates will appear important to us, right? So when you're talking about which dates, you are talking about the dates means in which we compose certain things or write the story, right? So, and that's why do we means select particular dates? Because on that day means we find out certain set of events happened, right? So consider an example in the histories, written by British historian in India, that what the rule of each governor general was important. The rule of each governor. These histories begin with the rule of the first governor general, Warren Hastings, and ended with the last viceroy, Lord Mountbatten. So Warren Hastings started as a governor general, and the ending was with the Lord Mountbatten, right, who was the last viceroy. In separate chapters, we read about the deeds of others, right? Deed of others means what kind of a work they have done, right? Let's say that if you look into the picture which is given here, what is that picture is presented? Now, famous all over the world, Lipton's teas, or called as a coffee, right? So you would find out the picture is the representation of what? Representation of the test. So this advertisements help create test. Old advertisements help us what? Understand how markets for new products were created and new tests were popularized. This 1922 Lipton advertisement uh, tea suggests that royalty all over the world is associated with this tea. With this tea means Lipton tea. In the background, you see the outer wall of an Indian palace, right? So while in the foreground, seated on horseback is the third son of Queen Victoria of Britain. So what is his name? His name is called as a Prince Arthur, who was given the title Duke of Connaught. So who was given as a means a title Duke of Connaught? So Arthur, right? Arthur what?
Prince
Now Prince
Arthur.
Arthur. Okay. Now look into it. So we understood here that in separate chapters, we read about the deed. Deed means what? What kind of a work they have done. Hastings, Wellesley, Bentinck, Dalhousie, Canning, Lawrence, Lytton, Ripon, Curzon, Harding, Irvine. So if you talk about that, it was a seemingly never-ending succession. Succession means ruler of governor generals and viceroys. So, and they all means from the means they all rule in the country called India, right? So, as far as we understand that Warren Hastings was the last one who served India as a viceroy. So in that case, these people who were considering as the succession of governor general and viceroy, all the dates in these history books were linked to these personalities, right? To their activities, to their policies, to their achievements. It was as if there was nothing outside their lives that was important for us to know. So why not? Because we give importance to them, the chronology, the sequence of their lives that marked or that spotted the different chapters of the history of British India. So uh, in that case, you would find out we give importance to them and we try to know about those of the characters a lot because they are associating with the country. Can we not write about the history of this period in a different way? So the history of this period means what? So the period where we are living, uh, how do we focus on the activities of different groups, classes in Indian society within the format of this history of governor generals? So, like we know the names of these governor generals and their means personal and professional means spot marks on means in the country, right? Similar to that, in today's day also, if we look, then we can also focus on activities of different groups and classes in Indian societies. So what happened when we write history or a story, we divide it into chapters. When we write history or a story, what we do, now we divide it into chapters. Why do we do this? Now it is to give each chapter some coherence. Coherence means continuation. It is to tell a story. It is to tell a story in a way that makes some sense and can be followed. Right. So here the author gave an argument that why history or story is divided into chapters, right? Because each chapter some kind of a what do we say that each chapter some kind of a continuation or logicality. It is to tell a story in a way that makes some sense and can be followed. In the process, we focus only on those of the events that help us to give shape to the story we are telling. So obviously, if you are making any kind of a story, so obviously you follow also particular dates that will help your story to be factualized or means important or called as a reality. So it is to tell a story in a way that makes some sense and can be followed. In the process, we focus only on those events that help us to give means a shape to the story we are telling. In the histories that revolve around the life of British governor generals, the activities of Indians simply do not fit. The activities of Indians simply do not fit. They have no space. What then? What then do we do? Clearly, we need another format. Another format for what? Now, for our history. This would mean that the old dates will no longer have this importance they earlier had, right? So it indicates that this would mean that the old dates will no longer have the importance they earlier had. Means earlier we give the importance to this old dates, but nowadays we don't. A new set of dates will become more important for us to know. New set of dates, like recently, what are the things occur, right? How important it is for the country. If you have been found that now you find out the date is called as a when did Lata Mangeshkar die, so or what she has been called Nightingale of the Queen, right? So now you don't need to remember or you don't give importance to Sarojini Das or called as a means other means what do you say that means important figure, right? So important figure or important date, because you are simply focusing to the importance to whom? The modern days, not to the earlier or past. So, and on the basis of that, we are creating a set of dates which is important for us to know. So how do we periodize? How do we periodize? So periodize means what? Like you can say Jacobeans era, Elizabethan era, Shakespearean era. So you're talking about the period, right? In 1817, James Mill. In 1817, James Mill. Who is James Mill? A Scottish economist, right? Scottish means Scotland economist and political philosopher who published a huge three-volume work. Three-volume work. What is that? A history of British India. In this, he divided Indian history into three periods. What are they? Now, Hindu, Muslim, and British. So this periodization came to be widely accepted. Means many accepted. Can you think of any problem with this way of looking at Indian history? Can you think of any problem with this way of looking at Indian history? Why do we try and divide history into different periods? Why do we try and divide history into different periods? Whose answer we are going to draw it? We do so. We divide history into different periods because in an attempt to capture the characteristic of a time. So characteristic of a time means now it's a central feature as they appear to us. So we are trying to say that what now in this period, which one is considering as the most important event occur. So the terms through which we periodize, that is demarcate. Demarcate means to symbolize the difference between periods become important. Like let's say that if you're talking about 14th to 17th century, you can say that 16th century is very important. Why? Now, because of certain events which have been reflected in the past and considered uh, means important here. That's why, right? They reflect our ideas about the past. They reflect means what? Now, these periods which we consider important. So they reflect our ideas about the past. They show how we see the importance of the change from one period to the next, right? They show what? Now, how we see the importance of the change from one period to the next period. So, like you can talk about that today means or 50 years ago, what happened means how people do not have the charm of what holding the touch screen phone, but at the same time today you would find out it is something called as a means common and ordinary. Means ordinary in means in common people's hand. It is also stated that, and these are the things actually reflecting about the past, and they show how the importance of the change from one period to the next period. Mill thought that, right? Who is Mill? James Mill. So Mill thought that all Asian societies were at a lower level of civilization than Europe. So Mill's thought made a comparison about Asian societies and their level of civilization than Europe. According to his, means Mill thought, telling of history before the British came to India, Hindu and Muslim despots ruled the country. Despots means did not, Hindu and Muslim despots ruled the country. So it means what? They were not marked as they were ruling the country. Religious tolerance, caste taboos, religious tolerance, caste taboos, taboos means called as a kind of a belief, and superstitious practices dominated. Superstitious practices dominated. Okay. Social life, British rule, Mill felt could civilize India. To do this, it was necessary to introduce what? Introduce European manners, arts, institutions, and laws in India. Mill, in fact, suggested that the British should conquer or get the victory all the territories in India. British should get the victory all the territories in India to make sure the happiness of the Indian people. For India was not capable of progress without British help. So in this idea of history, British rule represented all the forces of progress. In this idea of history, what happened? Now, British rule is the symbol that all the forces of progress and civilization in the country. The period before British rule was one of darkness. So it was called as a before the British came to the country, right? So people were living in the darkness, means no development, no means new things have come out. So and the progression of common people held because of the British, right? Can such a conception be accepted today? In any case, can we refer to any period of history as Hindu or Muslim? Did not a variety of faiths that exist simultaneously in these periods? Why should we characterize an age? Why should we characterize an age only through the religion? Why should we characterize an age only through the religion of the rulers of the time? To do so is to suggest that the lives and the practices of the others do not really matter. We should also remember that even rulers in ancient India did not all share the same faith, right? So these are the things which are clearly highlighting about the past with the present. Moving away from British classification, historians have usually divided Indian history into ancient and medieval, right? So, and modern. This division too has its problems. It is a periodization that is borrowed from the West, where the modern period was associated with the growth of all the forces of modernity: science, religion, democracy, uh, liberty, and equality. Medieval was a term used to describe a society where these features of modern society did not exist. Can we not critically accept this characterization of the modern period to describe the period of our study? As you will see in this book, actually the book which you are studying, right, under British rule, British rule people did not have equality, freedom, or liberty, nor was the period one of economic growth and economic progress. Many historians therefore refer to this period as what? Colonial period, right? So in that case, British people did not have equality, freedom, or liberty, nor economic growth and progress. So historians therefore refer to this period as colonial. Now, what is colonial? If you talk about that, what is colonial? So definitely means it is indicating to the way the British came to conquer or got the victory and established their rule. Who? British. Subjugating local Nawabs and Rajas. Subjugating local Nawabs and Rajas means what? Influencing. You will see also how they established, means Britishers established control over the economic system, right? And the society collected revenue to meet all their expenses, bought the goods they wanted at low prices, produced crops they needed for export, and you will understand the changes that came about as a consequences, or that called as a result or ending. You will also come to know about the changes British rule brought about in values and tests, customs and practices. When the subjugation of one country by another leads to this kind of a political, economic, social, and cultural changes, we refer to the process as a colonization. Means certain things, right, which have been influenced, right, into one country by another, and that leads to this kind of a political, economic, social, and cultural changes. And then you can point out this is called as a colonization. So, however, find that all classes and groups did not experience these changes in the same way. That is why the book is called Our Past in the plural. Our past. It means it does not talk about one of the past. So, obviously, it has a periodization, and therefore, on the basis of the period, so you can talk about how the past means indicating about the history doesn't refer to the fixed time, it refers to the period based, right? Okay, we keep here, and next class will start that how do we know, right? Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So, are this much?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll meet in the next class. Till then, bye-bye. Good night. Sweet dream. Please do read this topic. I'll meet you in the next class with a couple of questions in a form of Google, right? And we will test your ability on this particular question types. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir. I will answer. Sorry.
What is this?
Bulu bulu.
Can't wait.